So raise your glass, even though he's not the best, but at least he made the top 5.
Now let's start with the welcome.
Welcome to another edition of Lanai Gossip. We're so happy to have Katie Reiser here, and you are the development manager of Walk to End Alzheimer's.
Yes, I am.
I got to introduce my co-host. John is taking Lonnie's place because Lonnie's still suspended.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, well, but anyway, thank you, John.
Yeah, it feels good to get off the bench. It's been a while.
So John's back, and you Walk to End Alzheimer's. Am I saying that right?
Yes, Alzheimer's.
And my mom and dad passed away from it, and John's had some of that in your family too, right, John?
Yeah, there's a fair amount of it that on my mom's side.
So this topic's dear to us. What do you do for Walk to End Alzheimer's?
Well, number one, this is done in 600 communities around the country. So we are, the Alzheimer's Association is the leading nonprofit for Alzheimer's fundraising for the care, support, and research and advocacy for Alzheimer's. So the walk we host in the villages. This is our 4th year.
Okay. And
the walk is, number one, a great way to bring people together and build awareness. So we want people to talk about Alzheimer's. With most diseases, early diagnosis is critical. So we want people to talk about Alzheimer's. So building awareness, letting people know what the Alzheimer's Association does. We do education. We have an 800 number. It's not an emergency line. People, I think, tend to wait until they're in an emergency situation before they reach out, and they don't need to do that. There are caregivers. I think there's over 750,000 caregivers in just the state of Florida. I mean, there are 580,000 people living with Alzheimer's in Florida.
Wow.
So there are a lot of caregivers, and it is tough if you have been impacted by Alzheimer's. Oh, yeah. It's a horrible disease. There's a lot of impacts then on caregivers, and usually it's family members that are taking care of their loved one. And it's that time at 2:30 in the morning when they finally have a chance to sit down, when they're not making doctor's appointments or cooking or doing laundry or whatever it might be as a caregiver, that they're trying to figure out what's their next step. And they can call that 800 number. And there's a licensed social worker who is there to answer questions, just to be able to talk to them. So that's what we do with the Walk to End Alzheimer's. It's a great way to bring people together, let them know about the Alzheimer's Association, and meet people who are on the same journey. I worked in Northern Indiana for the Alzheimer's Association, and when I moved here, what's the best way to get connected in the villages is find your Facebook group of your neighborhood. And someone posted on there that their husband was living with Alzheimer's and they had lost some friends because their friends didn't know how to handle this. Because it's not a normal part of aging. This is something different than normal aging. And she said, we've lost friends. Is there anybody else that's going through this too? Oh. So I reached out to her and said, number one, you're not alone. This is a prominent disease, and you should find a support group. Find someone to talk to. There are people who are walking this same journey. I said, you should find the Walk to End Alzheimer's here in Florida. And sure enough, for me, I just thought it was a God thing. It was that Saturday.
Wow.
So of all times, right? I mean, it was just meant to be.
Now, when is the next one then?
So again, every year in fall. So our walks are October 7th at the Villages Polo Club. And the one in Ocala is the 14th of October. And that's at the World Equestrian Center.
Oh, yeah. Now, what's up in Ocala? You had mentioned to me that I might be a good person to head up there and maybe get tested, or is there some pre-screening that John and I could do?
So absolutely. The first thing to think about is just talk to your primary care physician. And there are studies, there are tests that you can check your memory, see where you are, talk about your family history. It's a nice thing with the Alzheimer's Association and our walks is because we have sponsors and we get to know the community, both in the villages and in Ocala. There's Renstar, which is a medical research company, Charter Research, Synexus. So there are a number of options to be able to go and talk to them about what studies they have going on. And again, just talking to other people who are going through the stages of, or the process of Alzheimer's,
right,
and find out, what can we do? What signs should we be looking for? And I brought you all kinds of good doodads that you can share. Just talking
will.
about like the top 10 signs. Like, what should you look for? You know, it's somebody had shared a story about couldn't find their keys, kind of joked about it and said,
Right.
oh, you know, was everybody? Well, we've all lost our keys.
Sure.
But when they're sitting on the table and you look at them and you don't know what they're for, that's a sign. You know, that there it could be something else.
Sure.
It could be something else, but it's important then to just talk to your doctor and say, what are the options? You know, what can we do to find out if this is something that we might, you know, have a problem with?
Yeah. Could I find out if I have it or if I am a person that may get it or susceptible to it, I guess.
So, you know, and there are certain kind of risks, you know, looking at family history,
Sure.
lifestyle, you know, there are some things that you can talk to a physician about and say, is this something we should be watching for? Blood tests, they don't have, to my knowledge,
Okay.
and I'm not a scientist.
Right.
You know, I am an event coordinator and community educator. But they're talking about the biomarkers in blood so that you can do a test. So it's in the works. I think it's coming close
Okay.
to being able to identify if you have Alzheimer's.
I always just wonder, what would you do if you did know that you have a propensity? So do you just prepare more? Do you, because it's not certain. It's just a
Right.
biomarker. as you
Right,
said.
exactly. At those risks.
Right.
You know, you take care of your heart because it's cardiovascularly. You eat better. They say that the Mediterranean diet, so more fruits and vegetables. I think I heard that
I do
once.
Call of Duty and I drink Diet Mountain Dew. So I'm hoping there's a study that says if you drink 7 Diet Mountain Dews a day, you're good.
You're in.
Got that covered. Call of
Then-
Duty.
then
But
you're
my
golden.
doctor did say Call of Duty does help because you're always thinking and you're
Yes.
learning new things.
Yes, it's
know?
absolutely. You want to keep firing those brain receptors and neurons, and keep challenging yourself. They also say, and this is why the Village is a great place, because they say to be social.
Yeah.
And there's no place better than the Villages to have a good social life. You can't help but have a good social life here.
So I do have a question. You mentioned the Facebook post that like really got you involved in your community immediately, even though you were still up in Indiana. So for those of us that might have individuals in our circle that are now struggling, what can we do as their friends to make that more comfortable for the caregiver that is not struggling, right? I bring my wife to the event, and my wife can't remember that, you know, she drank a glass of wine already. You know, let's not get a second glass or a third glass. How do we make those folks feel comfortable that it's okay to still come? We get it. You're struggling.
That I think the fact that you care enough to even ask about that is a great sign. That because it is, and it's just talking to them and just gauging their comfort. And they may not want to, because sometimes with Alzheimer's, there's some unpredictable behavior.
Sure.
And at what point do they feel uncomfortable that they don't want to be involved? So it may be changing the places that you do some of your social activities. It may be visiting with them. There are support groups in the Villages.
Okay.
So there are a number of resources in the Villages. So that way it's just finding out who may have gone through this. And sometimes it's just being able to talk to someone and let them know, judgment-free, what's happening.
But that number they will say, okay, here's where we'll send you. So
Yes.
it's kind of well, that's really neat.
Yeah, it's good because it really is. Those are the people that are trained to be able to answer all the questions and put you in the right direction. Whether you want to find a walk, whether you want to find out if you can be part of a study, if you want to find out about your risk factors, if you want to find out about a new drug that's coming out. With early diagnosis, there are treatments. There are 2 treatments, 2 drugs on the market right now. Aducanumab and lecanemab, I think are the names of them.
It's John's job to spell
Spell that?
Yeah,
All right.
spell that.
There you go.
We make
Thank
them so easy to remember, don't
Yeah,
we?
exactly. Again, why Lonnie was out because he couldn't have done that.
Not at all.
You know,
Heck
I
no.
Not based
never
on what was in that can.
love you, Lonnie.
Well, Viagra's so easy to spell. but not those 2 things.
Not those two.
Okay.
They're not easy to
But
say, but they can make a difference because they can slow down the progression of the disease. And that is the thing, to be able to extend even another day And that's what these two drugs are doing. So the person living with Alzheimer's was part of one of those trials with that drug, and they said it definitely expanded quality of life for longer. So
great.
it really, there are opportunities to make that, but again, it's early diagnosis. So when you ask questions, it's like start with your doctor, call that 800 number and say, where do I go? Which direction? What might be available for me? Because it really is. This has been a crummy thing to talk about for a long time because there has been no hope, but now we have hope. I mean, we really are making huge strides with early treatment and being able to have drugs that make a difference in people's life, just in that plaque growth. Being in a positive environment where you are in the top 5 of commissioners, I mean, that gives you a heck of a boost.
Thank you. Wow. Well, I can't change my 5s all over the place.
The song's already been written.
The song's written. Coming up in October 7th.
Yes, so October 7th at the Village's Polo Club, we are having the Walk to End Alzheimer's, and it's a fundraiser, and people form teams. So you can form a team.
Tell me how to get money, though. I can't just show up and walk. I got to get, people to give me a $1 per mile?
You can do a pickleball tournament.
Oh.
You can. So it's where you bring friends together. I know people that play pickleball too. You could have a softball tournament. Okay. You could bowl. I'm thinking all the things that I know that you do.
Yeah.
Just about everything. You could have a card tournament. You could simply post something on Facebook and say, this is an issue that matters to me, and every dollar is going to make a difference, and people will walk alongside you. It is a rarity that when I say I work for the Alzheimer's Association that somebody says, nope, never heard anybody. No, it seems like everyone has been impacted by Alzheimer's. So that is why we have the walk. So it's building that awareness. People can form teams, families who are walking in memory or in honor of someone. It's a great time for families to come together and to connect. So it's a Saturday morning at the Village's Polo Club. I brought all my good
what is
Hawaiian stuff. So the grass skirt, the lei. We're having a luau, and I thought it would actually go nicely with all your.
It looks
scrubby
great.
Things.
Oh, don't act like you don't know about those scrubby things.
Whatever those things are.
Whatever they mean. I can find my golf cart.
And that is the cool thing at the walk is it's not the kind of walk where it's like a 5K and everybody takes off and runs or walks and isn't. No. We're in no hurry. We are there together to be there with family and friends. We have selfie stations all along the way. Our sponsors are making this an event to celebrate and have hope together. So it's going to be a good time. I would love to have you there.
Wow. Well, we probably have to be there now.
We're kind of competitive. So what would be a good amount of money to raise from a small to mid-sized team?
Wow, that is fantastic.
I mean,
I love
if you
that
think of
question.
top of the world versus the villages, I'm just kind of...
Oh, wow. Well, I would go for at least $10,000. I think that would be a good
That's
one.
probably
I
a
think
bridge
you could
too
do
far
that.
for our group.
I meant 5. 5 is your number, right, Scott?
5 would be good. 5 would be good.
$5,000.
Carmen and I just bought new walking shoes, so we have to walk.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll do it. I mean, it means something to me. It means something to John, and it certainly means something to you. And thank you for everything you do. And then you come on here, and we're not paying you, just so you know, for being here. Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you
Katie.
so much.
Very
Thank you.
Thanks to him, we've got the best league to play in. It's not a boast, just a toast to number 5.